Alright, so I wanted to go over just a little bit about the process of making that pop-up. I learned so much, and the box mechanism that I actually got that from Matthew Reinhardt, who is a pop-up book artist, and he has a YouTube channel that has tons of wonderful, helpful tutorials, and it's he's also got some downloadable templates and things like that. But I started out with some thumbnail sketches, so these are my drawings for ideas, like, so it was for a birthday card, and so I wanted it to be a specific age, because a lot of times for younger kids, you know, it's like first birthday, second birthday, whatnot, and I came up with a word list, and I ended up settling on the one, like, I originally wanted the rabbit to jump out of the box, but that was a lot for my skill level, so I kind of went with this one. Okay, he's just kind of holding it up, and he's kind of looks like he's standing out of the box. Okay, so I had to build a dummy version of it, and so here are the pieces. It's kind of sad because and I'll include a video, I'll try to put that in there, because I did take a short video of the dummy one, and so this was just leftover scraps of paper that I had. So this is the base of it, and then these were the actual pieces that it took to make the pop-up. And so I ended up taking these pieces that I had cut out, so I worked to proportion. Okay, so this is actually larger than what the final card would have been, because I was required to have a certain size, so I proportionally scaled it up just so it'd be easier for me to work with my hands. Even though I have small hands, I was like, man, that's gonna be really tiny. So what I did, because I don't like to measure, I just scanned it in on my flatbed scanner. So I scanned in all the pieces. So once I broke it down, and so that's the interesting thing about pop-ups. You build it and then you got to break it down, and you might have to do it several times, because there were things like later on, after I tried to make the final one, I was like, ooh, my paper's too thick, or something's not working, and I would have to do it like 2-3 times. So that was a learning process. To get the textures that you saw, because obviously these are white or they have some solid color, I went ahead and used watercolor paper. So I have this huge roll of watercolor paper. So the nice thing is, when I buy things in bulk, it is so nice, because then you're like, I don't care, I can make tons of mistakes, it doesn't matter, I have more watercolor paper. So yeah, they sell watercolor paper in these gigantic rolls. Sorry, I don't know if you can see this, but this is all the different watercolor companies have it. The only thing difficult about this is cutting it, because it's been on a roll, and trying to lay it flat, it's sometimes difficult, but I work it out. And the watercolor paper will lay flat once you staple and put it down. So my textures, I paint them on watercolor paper, and the kinds of the colors that I like to use, or the paints, the pigments that I use, are these, I hope this will focus. Can you see it? It's always hard. It's too close. Anyways, I'll put it here. So if I put it here, maybe it'll focus better. Yeah, that'll focus better. These are Daler and Rowney's alcohol inks, and they come in all kinds of colors here. These are some of the colors that I used. I actually used, yeah, here's the process magenta. So I used the cyan, magenta, and a yellow, and then I used a lot of this emerald green to get the colors. And you can see they're really vibrant. I find with watercolors, because I don't have a lot of patience, I go like, I don't have the patience to layer it, and this stuff comes down really nice and thick. The one thing is, since it's like acrylics, and you can layer on top of them, and maybe I should do a demo later on so you can see this, but here's my paint palette. Yeah, so this dries. This is like so you got to be really careful. You don't want to mess up your brushes, but it works like watercolor. You get some of the colors can be very opaque, like my cyan, and also the scarlet red is very opaque, but then other colors like the white and the yellow, your lighter colors, are much more translucent. Anyways, so that's how I achieve the colors. Then I let it dry, and then I scan these into the computer, because I knew that I want to practice like creating what I saw in the videos. He mentioned Matthew Reinhardt, and even Robert Sabuda mentioned that they do die lines, and so I did those in Adobe Illustrator. So I'll jump to the computer so you can see what the digital die lines of that artwork looks like. Alright guys, so I'm in Adobe Illustrator and I've opened my file that I've created with all the pop-up card pieces. So each individual piece of the letters that I went ahead and I cut those. Those are just triangles for the banner here, and then I wanted to show you the base. So in Adobe Illustrator I can change these the document size or the artboard size to whatever, and so I've placed my textures on the board. I've indicated lines, so I know this is where the corner of the box is, and it's directly lined up with the center fold. And you can see right here, these are just, yeah, these are the confetti pieces that I placed with my textures. This is the box here, and what I learned is I didn't want any white edging if I could, and so instead of taking the two pieces and gluing them separately, I went ahead and like mirrored it. And so right here the dash lines are my fold lines, and then I know I can just fold it down here. This is the middle fold right here, fold it in the middle, and then I can score it and get it to fold in the direction I want it to. These are the pieces. It's kind of funny, I built this upside down. I don't know why I did that, but this one, separate pieces right here, dash lines for the folds, and here is the bunny rabbit. So yeah, so a lot of pieces, but the nice thing is if I want to make more, I can print it out and make more and hand cut them. But yeah, great learning process. It does remind me a lot of when I worked in-house as a package designer, and you would get these die lines from the box manufacturing company, and then you would have to place all your graphics. They have to fit within that space. So yeah, so because that's where they're going to cut. But yeah, but anyways, that's how that works in Adobe Illustrator. I'm not going to go into depth about how to put those things on. I think that really needs to be a separate tutorial. And this is actually it was an alphabet book, but they also made it into these really gorgeous little cards. They are white primarily, and then they have little bits of color in them, but so like really wonderful little pop-ups that I've had all these years, because I think this came out like 12 years ago, but I was so enchanted by the work that they did. Fantastic. But probably one of the things that you learn is like paper doesn't want to work the way you think it is, and it's the opening and closing of the books, because you have to make sure not only will it open, will it close again, and will it do it repeatedly without getting caught on something. So sometimes things would catch, and that was difficult. And then if you want to do things that are more complex, it's like a learning process, because the harder pop-ups, like you see Matthew Reinhardt and Robert Sabuda do, I don't know that there's any full-on tutorials that show you, well, this is, you know, they'll show you part of the mechanisms, but then getting it to that full scale. And it's fascinating to me because they're actually working directly with whoever's manufacturing these cards. These cards are handmade, and so done overseas, and then they'll go over and they'll oversee that, and they work back and forth with the manufacturer, and I think that's fascinating. It becomes almost where it's like you're an illustrator and you are a graphic designer, because some of the same things I would do in package design when I would do package designing back in the day a long time ago. But yeah, fascinating. Love it's always been something that just, you know, it's enchanting and it's magical whenever you open up a pop-up, and the fact that you can make these out of paper, simple paper, and yet you can create something that is just so beautiful and it delights. Okay, thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Bye.